what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. You are most interested in coming in spring, and here's what you gave me. Cake Hester. I wonder if Jake's cake is gritty. I mean, guys, come on. Not a single... We did not get a single player, not a single element of the game. All we got were comments about Jake's ass, which is admittedly cakey and full and wonderful.
Thank you.
But not the point of the segment, guys.
But I appreciate you noticing.
Let's stay on task today. Please, chat. Brian Burgess, which player are you most excited to see during spring practice? Thank you, Brian. I guess I should have thought of an answer. So, okay, I'll turn back my own critique on myself here. Who do you got?
Kyron Lacey. He's now the new number one.
It's a good call.
He's the number one in a position that has, you could argue, but I don't think anybody would argue at this point, 2 of the 5 best receivers in the NFL, and I think the best receiver in the NFL, and Justin Jefferson. You have 2 first-round picks that probably solidified themselves as 2 top 15 picks after the combine in Indy with Brian Thomas running a 4.33. So the recent run of receiver at LSU, if you're a dog, you're going to get drafted in the first round. So Kyron Lacey, now is your time. It is your time to go out there and shine, show that you can be a true number 1 receiver, show that you can be the guy that can lead this young receiver group behind you. And I know you've got older guys coming in, via the transfer portal, but it's a very talented room, but it is a young room. And now you were a 3, and you were a good 3. I mean, there was moments you had at Alabama against Texas A&M where you showed flashes of being able to handle being the receiver 1 at a place like LSU. Now go take spring practice, show the leadership, and show that you have the ability to go be that guy.
That's a great answer. I think, obviously, Garrett Nussmeier jumps to mind because, of course, right? We hold these things to be self-evident, if you will. Harold Perkins is another one that you could say yes because of star power, because the kind of somewhat potentially controversial move to move back on the inside. Maybe my answer lies in trying to find the answer to this question. How do you replace the running ability of Jayden Daniels? How many yards did he rush for the past 2 seasons? Is it? I know it's over 2,000. It's not 3,000, is it?
No, but I would say
in a 1,500 a year.
Yeah, no.
No, I would say it's somewhere in the 2,500 range.
But whatever, that's a lot of production to replace on the ground, and you're going to have a spring ball without a Josh Williams. I mean, who's going to be playing running back this spring? Caden Durham.
Caleb Jackson.
Caleb Jackson. That's me. No. I got my. Caleb Jackson and Caden Durham, because their syllables are their same and they kind of sound alike. I constantly mix them up in my head.
Same position, understandable.
But Caleb Jackson. That's what I'm saying. So who else though?
Bunch of walk-ons.
So the rushing yards is a little over 2,000. So not quite 2,500. About 2,100 for Jayden Daniels. But still, that's
how do you replace it? Do those just become air yards? Are you suddenly just going to try to push towards 4,000 through the air with?
You can
with Garrett Nussmeier,
but you have to. So the one critique I had about LSU's offense a year ago, the number 1 offense in the country, undoubtedly one of the best that we've seen in recent memory in college football. There wasn't a lot of creativity in the run game. Now they didn't have to have the creativity because the running backs were, solid, and they were picking up 4 yards a pop and all that kind of stuff. But also Jayden would take it 80 yards and be like, okay, we're going to do more of that instead of run more outside zone. Or we're going to do more of that instead of run counter. So I understand why, because you had a weapon, and it's keep it, simple, stupid method. But they have to be more creative this year, more diverse. Like Joe Sloan in his past has done some different things. Like he's not going to just line up an 11 personnel in gun and run inside zone.
And
because they can't.
So that's a great answer in terms of partially how you're going to do it. Get more creative in the run game, more gap scheme, maybe a little more power and counter coming back into it. I mean, how much do design quarterback runs still function in here in terms of like zone reads? Or well, I guess I wouldn't technically be a design quarterback run. What I'm saying is Garrett Nussmeier a threat to pull? Or do you get away from a lot of those zone read concepts and go into more, like you're saying, counter, power, traditional, horn boss and everything else because it's kind of an empty threat having him read a backside edge defender?
It's not that he's not athletic enough to be able to do it, but here's why you won't see as much of it this year like you saw a year ago. Last year, even though Jayden Daniels was the best player in college football, he had the ability to go out there and do that, obviously, with his skill set, but also you had the luxury of trusting your backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a little bit different this year. Now,
well, you got Swan,
that's
though.
what I'm saying. You go get Swan because he has starts in the SEC, but what's the trust level of the backup quarterback? That is going to tell you how much of any of that they do. Again, like Garrett Nussmeier will never be confused for Jayden Daniels running the football. But also, and you know this, T, when you have a solid backup, somebody that you trust, that you feel like can run the offense, well, you're going to take a little bit more chances with a quarterback run game because if he gets hurt, you know you have a guy that can step in. They think they have a guy, but you had seen Nussmeier come in against Georgia, the moment not too big in an SEC championship game, and you knew that about his personality. They had to figure that out about Swan now.
And for what it's worth, like I feel confident about Swan in that regard because he is so experienced. All right, we got some answers rolling in here. Mr. Big says Shelton Sampson Jr. I think that's a great call. Okay, 3 starting receivers right now. Here we got. There's going to be Kyron Lacey, obviously, who's kind of slotted in as wide receiver 1.
Yep. Chris
Hilton, yes, who will be one of the top 3. I'm not sure if he becomes like you're just kind of, continues to kind of be that deep threat guy, or if he becomes more kind of volume and consistent. But after that, it's wide open, huh?
It is wide open. Now, C.J. Daniels is going to get every opportunity from Liberty to be that guy.
He's very interesting.
But Shelton Sampson, 5-star guy. He is somebody that played at one of the best programs, not only here in the state, but, across the country, right? Catholic continues to put out numerous amounts of college football players every single year. So, the pedigree there. And, he looks like he's ready to play right now. So I would love to see him compete. Go see if you can take one of those top spots, right? I think 1 solidified, but I think 2, 3, 4 are still open, even though we think we know who's going to slot in those positions.
So C.J. Daniels in that mix, Sampson in that mix, like you said, Chris Hilton in that mix, Aaron Anderson in that mix, Xavier Thomas in that mix. Anybody else? Did I miss it? Did I miss a wide receiver name?
So Kai Preen was a guy that they were high on last year.
That's right.
He's a guy who might actually move to running back in the spring. They said he could play both last year. Kyle Parker was another freshman last year that we heard his name a lot. And then, of course, all the freshmen coming in.
We had another great answer rolling in here from William Ivy. He says, Preston Hickey's documented as the strongest dude in the team. He's a defensive lineman. Why is he never mentioned? Had anybody ever heard of Preston Hickey?
So Preston Hickey's a walk-on. He joined the team.
From Oklahoma State, it looks like.
98?
He was a freshman at Oklahoma State in 2022, but, 6'1", 300. Old boy looks thick. He's from St. Paul's. I don't know. I don't know anything about Preston Hickey, but again, if you're a walk-on, there's not a better path to the field than interior defensive line right now. Like because they can't be beholden to anybody because they don't have any scholarship players to be beholden to. So this isn't, if you are Preston Hickey, this is a golden opportunity to go fight your way into that rotation.
Yeah, and this is not disrespect. Walk-ons have gone on to be stars before. Chris Doering, see? I said something nice. Yeah. I wasn't, slandering walk-ons. I've played with guys. You've played with guys that started as walk-ons. It is tough to necessarily count on a walk-on going into SEC play when you haven't seen him on the field. It's not to say that he's not going to get an opportunity, though. Like T-Bob said, that's what spring practice is for. It is to go win a job. Very few people have their job already pretty much guaranteed. Go win a job, go compete. Now is the time because you literally don't have any bodies. There's 4 guys out there, and you're 3 deep in spring practice. You're no longer just 2 deep like you are in fall camp. You're 3 deep as far as 3s will get reps in front of all the coaches.
Yeah, fair.
Go win your reps.
That's a good point. Everybody gets to practice a bit more here, unlike in season. Gray Bear says Aaron Anderson. Yeah, I kind of feels like if I had to guess that I don't know if I have much faith in Anderson. Would love to be proved wrong there, but between Xavier coming in and already kind of struggling to look like he had that game-breaking speed that we thought we were promised, I'm not very bullish on that. Let's see what other answers here as we wrap up this segment. Chapa Millet says Deshaun Womack. Absolutely. Yep. I mean, if you want to talk about a guy that is potentially poised to take a big step forward and be a guy that the SEC as a whole does not know before the season, but could know by the end of the season, Deshaun Womack would score at the top of that list. Paul Schuler says Dominic McKinley. Is he coming in? Early?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so either. So I don't know if we're going to get eyes on him.
Because the guys that have already decided to come in earlier that are here, they all have obviously their jersey number already attached to themselves in the roster.
Fawn says Josh Williams. You're not going to see much Josh Williams this spring. It's already confirmed he's recovering from injury, and they're kind of like, and we know Josh for sure. And then Christian says, yeah, he's not coming.
McKinley is not coming.
Christian says J.K. Johnson, which sure. Yeah. And I mean, really, look, I don't know. There's Jair Brown in corner right now. There's J.K. Johnson. There's Ashton
the guy
Stamps.
I'm watching is Ashton Stamps. I mean, he was kind of your constant the back half of the year, right? They loved him in fall camp, but he wasn't here during spring. This is his first spring, and like he's a guy that you're like, hey, if we could have one guy lock down one position on one side of the field, like. I feel like Ashton Stamps would have to get first crack.
I'm not gonna sleep on. I know he's not gonna practice in the spring because of injury, but Zay Alexander was a good player.
Yeah,
like I thought, like when he went down, like you saw a difference in a bad way. So, I mean, he's 6'2.5", almost 200 pounds. So he's a long corner. Again, not gonna see him in the spring. But if some of these players that we're talking about, certainly the Ohio State transfers, if they work out, then you have a completely different feeling in what the DB room looks like. Same thing when you look at the safety position. Like if Gilbert coming over from Texas A&M is a player that shows up and shows that he has the ability, you've got guys coming back. You have Major Burns coming back for his 73rd season.
Really?
Yeah.
Shout out. Yeah.
So, I mean, you've got some veteran guys back there. So right now it's a major question mark, and I am not saying that anything is answered, but you do have guys with the ability. You just never know how a transfer is going to work out. Like one of the more shocking things, and I think a lot of it was honestly due to the coaching portion of this, but I watched Omar Speights at Oregon State be an all Pac-12 first-team player.
Yeah.
I saw him against Caleb Williams and USC flash on film more than any player when they were on defense and USC was on offense. And he got here, and it just did not hit. It did not work. Did not look like he was related to the player that I saw on tape at Oregon State. So that happens. And how do you transition? It's a new league. That's a portion of it, but it's new coaching as well. It's a new scheme. How quickly can you adapt your skill set to that scheme? We don't know that. We think that transfers that we've seen play, even within the same league, can do that, but you just don't know until game one.
Well, if nothing else, you feel way more confident about the coaching. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.